Oh, fascinating. Oh, hi, how's it going? In this Anatomy of a Blu-ray, we're talking about Crimson Peak, and comparing it actually to at least the Australian equivalent, but it is the basic Universal Blu-ray release that came out, the year after the film came out? This just came out as of 2024, so let's do the compares. Packaging will be footage that comes on the screen later on, so that'll be a fun little trick. The 4K UHD of Crimson Peak is a stunning transfer. It's benefited Major League by it being, and despite being an upscale, it is a 4K UHD. It has Dolby Vision. It looks absolutely stunning, especially comparing it to the Blu-ray. Even just looking at basic scenes, either really well lit or in contrast, really dark and dreary and whatever. It's the benefit of the 4K disc really shines in showcasing what looks best in terms of costuming, in terms of production, in terms of just location. How it all looks is tremendous. Audio-wise, it's the same thing. They're both 7.1 mixers. They both have a headphone option 5.1, which is a interesting thing that it actually notes. I've seen that come up a couple of times now, but it just stipulates strongly DTSX as the main audio, and even on the Blu-ray it just says 7.1 in brackets DTSX. And it sounds great. The score sounds good, the dialogue is crisp and clear. I have no issues with it. It all works, it all flows. It's the 4K stands out as the one that has the best picture and the best audio. Special features wise, they do have a lot of similarities, but mostly from the factor of some pre-existing things. Now, the old Arrow Blu-ray, if you do have that version, does share a lot of the same special features as the Arrow 4K set, but of course the original Blu-ray has a lot to differ. The original Blu-ray mostly just has the audio commentary, 4 or 5 featurettes talking about production stuff, and then we're going to talk about the costuming, we're going to talk about the location, we're going to talk about the cast. The Blu-ray specifically actually notes, it says, I Remember Crimson Peak, which is actually a collection of 4 or 5 featurettes, which are 2 to 3 minutes each. Then there's a primer on Gothic Romance, Hand Taylor Gothic, The Light and Dark of Crimson Peak, A Living Thing, Beware of Crimson Peak, and Crimson Phantoms, all of which are on the new 4K UHD and the previous Arrow video release. And of course, the commentary. But the rest of the additional features that this has, including what's noteworthy to mention, The House is Alive, Constructing Crimson Peak, which is a 50-minute long feature-length documentary with cast and crew, interviews, and extensive behind-the-scenes footage. It's detailed as new. I don't know if it's actually on the old Arrow video release, but it is a hell of a release. If you were to just have it as just being this 50-minute feature, it's that's pretty good as an all-rounder. You almost don't need any of a featurette, but at the same time, they all intrinsically go through so many details that makes you really appreciate the film. Or at least appreciate the film a hell of a lot more, because for me in particular, I'm not a Gothic Romance kind of person, so that's my ick of the film. I don't care for that, but I love the production design, I love the costuming, I love the colours. Guillermo del Toro, I expect good quality production value, and I get that, and I love it, and I think it's my favourite in terms of his production quality. It just looks stunning, and I love how they have all these special features that dive into that. There's also additional featurettes, including Kim Newman on Crimson Peak and the Tradition of Gothic Horror Romance, which is an interview with the author and critic, which is a nice, 17-minute long video, him diving into what's inspired the Gothic romance and stuff like that for both literary and film history. So, you get a good amount of snippets from different movies, from different books, all these kind of things. Just generalizing the idea of where this kind of knowledge comes from and how this genre has evolved in terms of it being kind of an ironic touch on what was already a heavily realistic medium to becoming something kind of tongue-in-cheek in its own right, while also being surprisingly serious, depending on who's watching, who's reading. There is also Violence and Beauty in Guillermo del Toro's Gothic Fairy Tale Films, which is a video essay by Kat Ellinger, which again discusses a lot of Guillermo's work in terms of all of his films, basically, like discussing these fairy tale aspects and thematic relevancies to them all, which is, again, very insightful and a 23 minute long video, so lengthy, but worthwhile, especially if you're really interested in Guillermo's work. This Arrow video set is the limited edition version. It is a book version, so it comes with a limited edition packaging by Crimson Peak concept artist Guy Davis, who they reference him a couple of times during the featurettes, and you can really tell how much of his detail is lingering throughout the film, both in terms of this set and in terms of the actual on-set stuff. It is quite marvellous to look at. There is a limited edition 80-page hardbound book featuring writings by David Jenkins and Simon Abrams, an archival interview with Del Toro, and original conceptual design illustrations by artist Guy Davis and Oscar Ciccione. And again, a marvellous set. I love the art cards, I love the book. It's just a gorgeous set, and for me, in terms of a film review, I don't love the film. I only give it like 3.5 stars. For me, it's one of those, I love the production design, I love the costuming, I love all, like, the whole runtime of it, like, even when they're in America, compared to when they get to the more gothic stuff. I love the look of it, the vibrancy, the costume designs. I love how they change and evolve and really resemble the characters and, like, the mental spaces and emotional behaviors. There's so much about it that I absolutely, like, just love. And it's one of those classic films where you'll watch it because it's a modern film. You'll have a lot of the actors like Tom Hiddleston and Jessica Chastain being like, oh my god, it's so great to be in a practical set. And yeah, it is. But it's also like, I love how they're also talking about the certain, like, aspects of what they really love about these sets. It's not just, oh my god, this is all real, this is the Marvel movie. Like, and I appreciate that too. And I love how they, especially in the featurettes, emphasize how much detail went into these films. And for me, that's what makes the film so striking. Visually, I love it. I love the ghost stuff. Sure, it's not heavily a ghost film. It's not even really gothic horror. It's just gothic romance. But at the same time, it works fine. I'm not really huge in the dialogue. It's what kind of keeps me away from rewatching the film a lot. I mostly only really want to watch it to examine this new 4K release. And again, I still appreciate the film. I love the production design and all those, every aspect that basically isn't the people talking, I really like. It's a film that I feel like could be like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. It could have been a silent film and could work very much that way, because when you load up the disc and it does have its, menu screen, which is just showing clips from the film, nothing spoilery, which is nice, nothing too crazy, which is good. It kind of gets you a mood for it. And I realize that the mood is gothic romance, but also watching it and, like, just having the score playing, I'm like, man, this film looks really nice. Imagine if they didn't talk at all. Like, I don't want to completely discredit Guillermo's writing and who co-wrote it. So Matthew Robbins and Guillermo del Toro wrote the screenplay together, and again, it fits to its roots of being a, gothic romance, of being a period drama. But for me, I don't vibe with it very well. It doesn't gel for me, but it works for the film, even though, like, all, like, the character plots, all the dramatic stuff, it's heavily melodramatic and very much so kind of cliche, but at the same time, that's the genre. Like, I should expect that, and realistically I do. This is the second time I've watched it. I'm not, like, going into this blind being like, oh, this is kind of a piece of shit because of how it's written. Why does everyone talk like that? It's like, it's like sometimes you just get a film that can just be, like, so exactly everything you want, and then they start speaking, you're like, nope, this ain't for me. But it is what it is, it's melodrama, it's romance, it's just that kind of thing, and this style of it isn't my thing, but I love the ghosts. I get it. They're a metaphor. But there's a literal sense to them as well. I love the practical nature. I love the ghostly effects. They're just spooky creatures that can go through walls, but even though they can. But they're also people in costume, and they're walking around and stuff. And it's just, I love the effect of it all. So as an overall, what do I think of this set? I think it is a stunning set. It is Genuinely, if I hadn't have seen a small video, I don't even remember whose video it was. Maybe I just saw it like a post on Reddit or something, and I saw someone showing pictures of it. I'm like, that is insane. Like that is genuinely an insane package. I have to get it because the film realistically is a book. You know, it opens up as a book at the start of the film and it closes as a book at the end of the film with its animated credits. So it's like it's very much so a book. It is a gothic romance in a visual style, and it all makes sense, you know? It works well in the conventions of the genre. It works great as a horror in its essence that when it is a horror, of course, even though Guillermo's very adamant that it is not a horror film, and sure, it realistically isn't, but there are still ghosts, so there are horror sequences to it. But it's just that kind of thing. So I think the film still works really well. I think the set is absolutely divine. The art cards are nice. The poster is nice. The whole design of the package is stunning. The simplicity of the disc just being like stuck to the back of it is kind of funny to me, but at the same time it works. And of course you get the kind of interesting digipack with the actual 80-page booklet, which is a very nicely designed book with, again, essays and pieces talking about the film and the behind-the-scenes production design stuff. So, as an overall, it is a wonderful package. And if you're a fan of the film or just a fan of Guillermo's works or Gothic horror or whatever, it's definitely worth getting, especially for the UHD disc, but mostly for the packaging. If you don't care for the packaging, don't care for the essays, just wait for a standard release to come out. It'll obviously happen eventually. But for now, it's definitely the best version of the film to get, and I would highly recommend it, especially above the already pretty decent Blu-ray that exists. I'd imagine the already pretty decent Arrow Video Blu-ray that already exists is already a step above the Universal release. But in contrast, it's miles above the standard Universal release. So, yeah. Anyway, you can get it at the Arrow store. I don't know if it's in the US, but I know it's definitely in the UK, because that's where I got it from. So, yeah. Anyway, that's all. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you next time. Adios.